Chicago native actor Michael Boatman is no stranger to playing roles that challenge the notion of what blackness looks like. Currently starring on The Good Fight, Julius Kane, played by Michael Boatman, experienced persecution and challenges as he navigated his first year as a federal judge. With Memo 618, Kane found himself immersed in a secret conspiracy and subsequently faced blackmail charges that end in season 4 with his conviction and arrest. The Chicago Defender had a chance to speak with this versatile actor about his Chicago roots, his career, and season 5 of The Good Fight.
You're originally grew up here, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
yep. South side.
Chicago is such a big theater town. How did growing up here shape your wanting to be an actor?
You know what? It's so interesting, Danielle, because I never came. I'd never seen a play until I was in probably about my sophomore year of high school, and my mom moved us out to the suburbs in that year. So I spent most of my life in Chicago in the city, and then I went to high school sophomore, junior, and senior year in Harvey.
Okay.
And so I had never thought about theater. I'd never, what I do recall is watching. For some strange reason, I was attracted to, as a kid, WTTW. Now I'm sure it's PBS, but
yes.
And they had, I think I saw some plays and sort of, filmed sort of theatrical events there. But in terms of saying, I really know now that I want to be an actor, that didn't happen to me until much later. I was a kid who I thought I really wanted to have a career in the sciences. I was a science nerd, and I liked reading about the planets and the oceans and things like that. It's just interesting how we come to our path if we're lucky. But I happened to stumble into something because of I had a couple of friends. It's one of those weird moments where for about 2 weeks, up until the start of our sort of theater season at the high school, just all of a sudden, like, people started saying things to me, random things like, "Hey, you know what? You're so funny. You should try out for the school play." And then I had a best buddy who was in the technical department of the theater, and he was like, "Hey, man, you're funny. You should try out for the school play." Nobody had ever said anything like that to me. It had never. Wow. And then a girl, and I was everything you can imagine when I say science nerd, science geek, anything they used to call me Raj from What's Happening, because I had these big old glasses.
The black.
Oh my God, so I was not used to, girls of any kind talking to me, but she was kind of a star in our theater department. And she said, "Oh, well, I'll be at the theater audition." Later, I found out that's really what she was about, because every high school theater department needs boys. That's the bottom line. They just need boys. So they kind of sent her out to bring a few boys in, and it worked with me. I suddenly discovered maybe, that it was fun. You could find everyone there, and I found my people. Mm-hmm. I found my people. And it was not in the sense of, it wasn't in the sense of, like, people say actors love attention. I was a very shy kid. I was, but what I really loved, even before any of it, before the science, before anything, was I loved reading. I loved books. I loved stories. And in theater, I think I discovered that it was another way of participating in a story. I suddenly found, again, like, my people, and I found this thing that seemed to work for me, in the sense that I suddenly started to get roles, and if they were funny roles, people laughed in the audience, and like, "Oh, that's okay," and so the path kind of unfolded for me in a way that, for which I'm obviously really grateful.
You've been able to, as you mentioned, play a variety of characters, both comedic, both dramatic, and have really avoided being typecast, which is very difficult to do, particularly with Black actors that they want to
Yeah.
put in certain boxes. How
Yeah.
did your role on The Good Fight come about?
So The Good Fight came about because of The Good Wife, which many people will remember. I had been on the show on The Good Wife many times as a recurring character, starting from the very beginning, from the first season. Um, and when it came time for the spinoff, which The Good Fight is a spinoff of The Good Wife, Robert and Michelle King, um, who are the writers, had this idea about our star, Christine Baranski, Diane Lockhart, finding herself out of a job and landing at a historically Black law firm in Chicago. So I think in order to sort of have I can't only speak so much for them and their thought process, but I think they wanted to have a few folks from the old show kind of, and then new people. And so happily they remembered me from my many appearances on The Good Wife and thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to have him have, sort of made that transition along with her into this Black firm. But then we learn all kinds of different things about him that we never ever talked about.
That's one of the things I really enjoy about the show. It's smart, it's witty, and it really shows an aspect of Black life that you don't see. Black people in corporate America, Black people in upper management positions, conservative Blacks, conservative. I really love the diversity that's displayed even amongst a primarily Black and brown cast. The show has done an awesome job. A lot of us watch TV to kind of escape reality, but the show has done a really great job of melding what's happening in the world in real time with these stories. What is that like as an actor to play these characters that reflect the times that we're in right now?
You know what? I've never worked on a show that was as in touch with kind of the real world at the moment as this show. Of course, the show had its beginnings, at the beginning of the Trump administration, which kind of set our course for a while about dealing with a world with that had seemingly gone crazy.
Right.
And a lot of this season, in the fifth season, is actually still, there's a lot of fallout from all the stuff that happened up to this point.
I was going to ask you haven't really strayed away from playing, characters that may not be necessarily popular within our community, playing a gay man as a straight man in real life. What was it? What was your initial reaction when they said, you know what, you're not just going to play a Black conservative, you're going to play a Trump supporting Black conservative?
Yeah, I was horrified. Danielle, it's the only time I've ever actually thought about turning down a job because I couldn't imagine how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Every role that I've played, I wanted to I want to do honor to the role. I want to play it as real as I can. I never wanted to be, a cartoon or a caricature. And it's very interesting that you bring up Spin City because that character got the same kind of heat from like family and friends of mine. Like, I don't know if America's ready for a gay Black man on TV. And I was like, hey, it's a great part. It's but I had to be careful because I didn't want to slide into kind of parody or and this is, Spin City, obviously that was 1996, is pre the cancel culture that we kind of have, that we all talk about now. But I find that it was kind of this, it's the same experience. It's, for me, the conundrum was, how do you bring honor to this character, a character with which you may actually disagree. I didn't disagree with, Carter Hayward, my character on Spin City. It was just, that wasn't my orientation. But here's a character with which I vehemently disagreed. And I honestly couldn't think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, but what happened, and what I'm so grateful for is I got a chance to sort of sit down with the Kings in the writers' room as well, and we have some wonderful writers and several predominantly writers of color, which is an amazing thing in television these days. And we got to sort of hash out what are we talking about here? Are we talking? And I was trying to go into it, and there was a kind of a like despair for me of like, how am I gonna, but then they sort of began to tell me some things about him. Well, we're going to reveal that he's a father of like 6 kids. Well, I have 4 kids in real life. I was like, okay, I get that. Which could then be the basis for his pro-life attitude. I get that. I understand that. And he's a devout Catholic. Okay. Not particularly religious, but grew up Southern Baptist, went to church every Sunday, know the Bible very well, know the folks, my family are from that tradition. So I understood that sort of way of thinking. Julius never talks particularly about his religion, but the pieces that they sort of gave me were sort of able to kind of inspire a kind of understanding. And the biggest one for me led to what really sort of clicked for me and made it all okay was when I realized, I went back in my own life and realized that I'm the son and grandson and great grandson of veterans. My great grandfather was in World War II. My grandfather was in Korea. My dad and all my uncles were in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And that sort of clicked because my grandfather, who raised me, was a person who flew that flag every 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day.
Yeah.
He would take out his flag, which was perfectly wrapped and kept in plastic and everything, and he would fly it. And I remember as a kid thinking, why are you flying that flag? I mean, this country is racist and it's this and that. My father was a Chicago bus driver for 30 years and came home with plenty of stories, about racist passengers and stuff like that. But I remember thinking and learning one day and realizing really that he and my uncles and my great grandfather, they all went to fight for this country for me, and really for a future in which they knew they were going to come home and get treated like garbage. It didn't matter. I have a row of pictures of all of these men in their uniforms coming home. And one of my uncles told a story about being spat on when he came home from Vietnam in uniform, and those kinds of moments for me. And of course, because I love them and, love my family, I was able to kind of get to it through that. Like, okay, I get it. And then, of course, you realize how many folks that actually are just conservative, but maybe don't talk about it.
Right.
Maybe don't necessarily vote a certain way, but are conservative.
Yeah.
And so what I love about it, and you hit it on the head a few minutes ago, is that, our community is not monolithic. I mean, it is, we have every walk of life in the Black community. And so that has been great, just not only to participate in as an actor, but also to see how it works out with some of the other characters. And for folks who don't necessarily, like Wanda Sykes says, Wanda Sykes, who's on our show at the moment, Wanda Sykes says, if you don't have a Black friend, you're the problem. I think this show might do a good job for helping folks understand, and so just bringing us kind of closer together as human beings,
Yeah. Well, you're also a screenwriter and novelist. And
Yes.
I found it to be so interesting. One of the things my dad would tell me as far as writing is that writing is show business for introverts. So it caters to the introvert in me. So how do you balance the introverted side, that most writers are, versus the openness that you have to have as an actor?
Yeah. That's very interesting, because I have always said when I really started writing, and the first few short stories I sold, and the first novel that I sold and was published, because of the fact, as I mentioned to you earlier, that I was always a voracious reader.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to believe at certain times that it was always story. It was always somehow the adventures that the characters went on that I was reading about. And then suddenly theater came along, which gave me a chance to kind of be those characters. I always say that acting was a happy, fortunate kind of creative detour from maybe what I really was always good at or always connected to, which was writing. And so I think the two sort of play together in my head in this way, in the sense that I know now more than I ever did as when I was just acting, that the writer, that those words are on the page for a reason. I know myself, the way I struggle and fight and edit over and over just to get the right image, just the right word. And that has given me a lot of respect for the writers, the playwrights, the people who write teleplays or anything that I'm a part of. I go, okay, and it gives me a chance to sort of see, well, into their mind, why would he use that word? Why would he say that particular phrase? And so it's a lot of fun for me, actually, to be able to kind of hit that from two different directions.
Yeah, I love it. Last question, and this is as a fan, what can we expect from Julian? I'm on it. I've enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. There's some crazy stuff coming up with Mandy Patinkin's character, the judge, because Julius is so sort of, he's a law and order guy.
Right.
And while the world around him and all the characters on The Good Fight is suddenly sort of becoming not so law and order,
right?
Just kind of anything seems to go, and he gets thrown right into the fire of that crazy world with Mandy Patinkin's character when
Judge Wagner.
Yes, with Judge Wagner, and so he is sort of again always challenged to. And I find the challenge of also maintaining, he is who he is. He has his beliefs, even though he's in a firm where most of the people sort of, diss him about it. So I think that he is constantly challenged to sort of stay Julius, to hold on to his beliefs. But, they do evolve, and there's a couple of moments where people kind of mention the fact that, that my character receives a pardon from right, which makes it all more complicated, so I love those kind of moments of I disagree with him, but I'm out of jail, so I got right.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with the Chicago Defender. I can't wait to see the rest of the
season.
Listen,
that's my hometown paper. I was to my man, I was just like, no, I gotta do it. I can't I can't not talk to the Defender. So
thank you so much. I said, congratulations. I heard you guys were renewed for season 6.
Yes.
So I know I have another season coming, but we'd love to keep in touch. We like to cheer for the hometown and the home team.
You.
So congratulations and continued success.